Alright, for this Q&A I'll be answering a few questions I get asked frequently, or that I thought would be pretty funny for my stream. So let's start this off with an easy one. How old are you? I'm 22. I just turned 22 about a month ago. What is your favorite deck to play? My favorite deck to play is probably Gear Town Monarchs, because that deck's a lot of fun, and after I made the deck I actually bought all the pieces so I could make it myself. And after that would probably be Macro Monarchs, but can't really play that anymore, so... Because Deep Fissure, yeah, Dimensional Fissure, Macros Cosmos are limited. Doesn't really work anymore, but it's a lot of fun back when I used to play it. And after that it's probably Froggy Monarchs, or Nimble, Obelisk, because it uses frogs, and I kind of like playing frogs. But yeah, pretty much anything that has to do with not frogs, monarchs. That's right, I love monarchs. That's why I'm really happy about all the new support it's getting. They just need more support though, because they're doing so well. They're trying to make monarchs a good deck again. They're trying, but they're just not doing it. What monarchs need are one really OP card to like push them over the top. And I thought that would be the new Ryaz, but he's kind of bad because you need a wind type monster and all the attribute specific stuff is stupid. But if they make a Mega Caius, I think that could probably push him over the top. Because right now it's still Light and Darkness Dragon is the boss monster of a Monarch deck. There's no like Monarch that's the boss monster of a Monarch deck. Alright, and the next one. What are artifacts and why do you use them so often? Artifacts are these neat little cards where they can be set in the spell and trap card zone. And if they're destroyed on your opponent's turn, you can special summon them from the grave, then they can activate their own little special effects. The great thing about them though is they have two really good support cards. One of them is basically an MST that also searches out an artifact, which is just great because you can also use it to destroy your own artifacts during your opponent's turn. And the other one just straight up summons one from the deck for like no cost on your opponent's turn, because you just can't attack the turn to use it. And if it's destroyed, you can chain it to bring out an artifact, and you still get its effect to like destroy a card if it's destroyed in your opponent's turn. Like if they MST it and you chain it to bring out an artifact, and MST still destroys the card even though you used it, and you get to destroy one of your opponent's cards. So they have two really good support cards, plus they have only one good artifact, and that's the blue artifact, Ward of Melor or something. The blue artifact, when he's special summoned during your opponent's turn, you get to destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Any card that destroys an opponent's monster with very little cost is usually pretty good. Plus, the blue artifact also has 2100 attack and is level 5. So, it has really high attack for someone who's brought out really easy through the two really good support cards that can destroy one of your opponent's monsters on its summon. And it's can be special summoned by just any way, so Call the Haunted also activates its effects during your opponent's turn. And since all you have to do to bring him out really is just special summon him, and there's tons of ways to do it, he can be splashed in with a ton of decks. Artifacts and the new hand cards are like the two cards that are easily splashed in with like almost any deck, but you just need to add more cards into like fill it up to the 40 card limit. Probably hands are better now, but before hands came out it was totally artifacts. I was throwing artifacts into everything that I needed just more monsters in the deck for something. Now it's hands because the hand cards are really good. Alright, for the next question. Do you have any advice for deck building for new players who are just starting out? I don't really have advice for players who are just starting out, other than just play a whole bunch of times to get the feel for the game. That's what I usually do. I'm a better learner through actually experiencing rather than reading up on it. Although I'll experience first and then read up on something like crazy. That's how I usually do stuff. But I do have some advice. Strictly for devpro though. My advice probably doesn't really work anywhere outside of devpro. Probably not for the dueling network, or probably not at your local tournaments, because those are all different things. Those ones are probably a lot easier to do, because you can just specifically build your deck around whatever the hell they're playing. So for devpro, my advice would be 3 MSTs in every deck. There's almost no exceptions for that unless you're playing a deck that destroys spell cards pretty easily. Main reason for the 3 MSTs is because people play cards like Kaiser Coliseum and Necro Valley And skill drain. Those cards can really screw over a ton of decks, and you really need to just get rid of it. Also, if you don't know what your opponent's playing, it's usually the best idea not to blindly MST, that way you can save it for one of those cards. 3 to 4 effect negations in every deck. You can get away with only 2, like 2 effect vielers. Usually 3 or 4 is like the good... It's the good one. 2 effect vielers, 2 breakthrough... No, like 2 effect vielers and 2 fiendish chain are pretty common. The most common effect negation cards are, of course, effect vieler, breakthrough skill, and fiendish chain in that order. Have a clear win condition in mind when building a deck. You don't want to just, I don't know, throw something random together. Like, ooh, I want to use this card because it's awesome, but it's really bad and there's no way to really use it, so I'm just going to throw in a whole bunch of cards that are good as well. If it's a really good card, what does it do? Does it destroy monsters? Build it around its weaknesses. Is it just a beat stick? Build a beatdown deck. Does it do none of those things and it's just kind of a bad card that looks cool? Well, then it doesn't really matter because your deck's gonna suck if you have a card in there. Build your entire deck around the win condition. Get to know all the staples. This allows you to fill up your deck after you have your core. Staples are cards like Mirror Force, Solemn, what is it, Torrential, Evac Device, Forbidden Lance, well, of course MST and the effect negation, those are a given. And also, how do they fit with your deck? Do you absolutely need some of your cards to survive? And throw in a lance or 2. Never more than 2, unless your deck like super revolves around beatdown, like evil sword decks that use Hydrogen Dawn, or that other guy who destroys a monster by battling expels summon another dinosaur. Those kinds of decks are like Gladiator Beast will run 3 lances, but usually other decks don't. Or cards like Mirror Force or Dimensional Fissure. Is it D-Fissure? I don't know, I'm doing this all in memory. Usually the D-Prison, yeah, that's the one. D-Prison is usually better than Mirror Force because of cards that have cannot be destroyed effects, which are quite frequent now with Arc Honor Knight. Oh, actually, speaking of Arc Honor Knight, always have an Arc Honor Knight, Extinction Knight, and a Gagaga Cowboy in your extra deck that can go into rank 4s. Each one of these cards have won me more games than I can remember. That's Arc Honor Knight, Extinction Knight, or Execution Knight, and Gagaga Cowboy. Extinction Knight, if you're behind, you can destroy your whole opponent's field. Arc Honor Knight for getting rid of pesky monsters like Beals, and Gagaga Cowboy for that last 800 burn damage. Why put him in defense mode? That's usually what he's used for most of the time. Also, the other effect where he can take out monsters with less than 3,000 attack, but no one ever uses that effect. It's always for that 800 burn damage, which is usually just enough. You can also just put him in defense mode, because he has really high defense, and just do 800 and then 800 your next turn, because it's really hard to get rid of a 2400 defense monster. Alright, and that's it for that. Alright, now on to the serious questions. What is your favorite anime? Now that's a tough one. It's a big throw up right now. I would have to say probably either The World God Only Knows, or maybe Madoka Magica, because that had like an amazing story. I was so surprised about that. I went into that one not really knowing anything about it, and I was super pleasantly surprised. It's basically like a magical anime that has a super serious plot that's really good. Or maybe Steins Gate, that's probably the best time traveling thing I've ever seen. Maybe Monogatari, just because I love the visuals so much on that. Lots of things by Shaft. Shaft is a really good anime studio. I don't know, I'll probably just go with The World God Only Knows, because that one's just hilarious and has a good plot. What is your favorite type of anime? Comedies, romantic comedies, rom-coms. I love those. I do like serious plot drama sometimes. And I love sports shows too, like iShield 21, Chronicle no Basket, Haikyuu, Ping Pong the animation. Ping Pong's actually really good too. I just finished watching up Free, although that's not really a sports anime, it's more slice of life. Free was pretty good though. I did like that. Favorite type? I don't know, I don't really have a favorite type. I like a whole bunch of different things. And the final question, the big one, best for last. Who is the best girl in Nisekoi? Actually, that's a really easy one. It's obviously Onodera. The other girls just don't compare to Onodera. She's super cute and shy, and I just love those types. Plus, I didn't really have a preference until I read the manga and she was in her Juliet costume. And it was that. I was like, oh, this is probably the cutest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I was so sad that they butchered that in the anime. Because usually they do so well in the Nisekoi anime with all the character adaptations, and they do the reaction faces perfectly, but that they just did not nail it. It was just so much better in the manga. I'm definitely going to have to look up that and just like paste a picture in this video just to show you how cute she looked in the manga. And yeah, and that's it. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, go ahead and ask whatever. It doesn't matter. In the comments or in the chat while I stream. I do love answering questions when I'm streaming. It makes live streaming a lot more fun.